Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So this one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking about Adamancipator, but I've got two different builds for you, 40 card and 60 card, because I really couldn't decide which one I wanted to focus this video on. So I figured we would take a look at both builds, a couple of games from each, and then compare them. And then I'll give you my thoughts on the pros and cons, and maybe you can let me know in the comments below which one you think is better. Before I get into it too much though, I first want to just thank everybody for all the positive responses in the comment section, regarding all this new style of content that I'm trying out, just different ways of presenting, Master Duel info and games and whatnot. Just been receiving a ton of support. It really does mean a lot. Thank you all so much. The channel members too, we've over doubled our channel members in the past month and a half or so. I think we're up to 16 members at this point, which is insane. Thank you all so much for the support, and the patrons as well as everyone just watching here. But anyway, we're starting off with this 40 card build that I just showed the deck list for, and the thing that I really like about the 40 card Adamancipator build versus 60 card is first and foremost naturally going to be consistency. Of course you'd expect that from 40 versus 60, but especially going second, I really like having access to hand traps. And it's definitely very good to open both Maxi and Fuelos here. Kind of disgustingly good. Of course, we're going to lead with Fuelos over Maxi in case they, want to Ash Blossom or Call by a Cross out that. We'd much rather have the Maxi resolve than the Fuelos. But yeah, our opponent's just going to summon the one Blue Eyes, set 3 and pass. I think that it's not a matter of consistency when opening engine between 40 and 60. I don't think either build has too much trouble doing that. For me, again, it more comes down to the hand traps. And of course, we're playing a good number of hand traps in our 60 card build too, but the 60 card build also, as you're going to see, it has more engines and requires you to play more engine and fewer hand trap when it comes to ratios in the 40 card build. The other thing I like about the 40 card build is the extra deck space. Regardless of if you're playing 40 or 60, you have the same amount of cards in your extra deck, 15. However, when you're jamming a bunch of engines in the 60 card build, those engines all require their own extra deck slots as well. For example, while I am playing Millennium in the 60 card build as I am in the 40 card build here, I don't really have room for Doomed Dragon necessarily in the extra deck of the 60 card build. So I really like being able to have that flexibility. Adamancipator has a lot of different things it can play in the extra. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes trying to figure out exactly what's good, but again, with fewer cards in the main deck, it actually leaves you with more options in the extra deck. So in that regard, I kind of almost want to suggest the 40 card build for somebody who's not used to playing Adamancipator from, before Block Dragon got banned, or even just this kind of style of pile deck where you don't have a concrete combo line. Your combo is going to be different every single game. It just super depends on how you open, right? So yeah, the 40 card build allows for a lot more wiggle room in that regard, for sure. Alright, going into our next duel here, we're going to be going second yet again for this one. Only opening the one Ash Blossom here. So, yeah, ideally you would open multiple hand traps, and in the 40 card build, I kind of have ratios set up to... Actually, I don't think I really have ratios set up for hand traps that well. I think even in the 40 card build, I can only fit in 10. That is going to be a natural weakness of Adamancipator, is that you have to hit a lot, with your Adamancipator monsters, which means you need a critical mass of rock monsters to be able to make use of those effects. Yeah, you'll notice here too that I saved the Ash Blossom. I didn't use it on the walls of the Imperial Tomb. I saw they were on a 60 card deck, so I figured I would almost assuredly have a better Ash Blossom target, and Rhino Heart for me was indeed that target. They're going to get to use their horse monsters to go into the zombie vampire here. But thankfully they didn't build anything too crazy. Just Planet Pathfinder, which is just going to add other walls. They are also on a Kashtira engine, I noticed in there when I looked at their deck after the fact. Yeah, but even if you don't open a ton of hand traps in the 40 card build, and this is actually kind of one of the strengths of the 60 card build, Adamancipator is one of those decks where you open enough engine and you can play through just about anything. And we have a ton of engine here. Our opponent's just going to end on a 4-mat Appaloosa, which means nothing to our Quackmere Guardian. Literally nothing, because as soon as they go to activate it, we can simply negate and destroy it. And Appaloosa's big weakness is, of course, that it can't use its effect multiple times in the same chain link. Meaning that, yeah, they can use this Woodora here. I actually have no idea why they did. They definitely should have saved that for my Block Dragon, but Yeah, that's not going to stop the Appaloosa from getting negated and destroyed. And we can still special summon the Researcher, even though we no longer control Rock Monster, because the condition was fulfilled, right? As soon as we activated, you know, the Researcher, it didn't matter if we had a Rock Monster on the field anymore. Now, here our opponent did mill a Shiren, but we actually just revealed more Quacky Mirror Guardians, so it actually doesn't even matter that they milled a Fuser, because we can simply negate it. Quacky Mirror Guardian, it was easy to forget until I started playing the deck again, just how important this card is to the Adamancipator deck. It's so broken, it's so good. Not once per turn, it negates and destroys, and as you can see, there are a lot of shenanigans where you can just summon it, you know, in the midst of a chain link and then have it ready for the next chain link. Alright, so kind of out of steam with the Adamancipator side of things, so we're going to pivot over to the Millennium engine using the golem that guards the Millennium treasures. Really like having a playset of this, because if you open it with the Researcher, or really if you open any amount of Millennium stuff with the Researcher, you can of course special summon her and then start your excavating just off your Millennium stuff. Here we can just get enough bodies on board to just swing it for lethal, much like that last game. No need to full out finish comboing when we just have lethal on board. Alright, so those are some games with the 40 card build. Now I'm going to show you the 60 card build, which adds a lot more engines to the deck. We're playing Super Heavy Samurai, we're playing some Vernuself stuff, on top of the Millennium cards we were playing before. Of course, the 60 cards we're also going to be playing That Grass Looks Greener. So, obviously, the big advantage here is that you have so much more to do. And in a way, this actually almost makes up for the whole lack of hand traps thing, for the reason that I mentioned, you know, in that last duel, right? If you open enough engine, then you can push through just about anything. And that is certainly rings a lot more true with a build like this. Now, I think another big strength that a 60 card build has over the 40 card build is actually flexibility, which is a pro of the 40 card build as well. But the 40 card build specifically shines in flexibility in terms of your extra deck space, and you have a little bit more room to play with hand traps, right? But the flexibility that a 60 card build allows you is so many different engines. Like, you don't even have to be playing Super Heavy Samurai or Vernuself, so you could be playing more Vernuselfs, less Super Heavy, or the other way around. Or you could play, you could not include the Millennium engine, and you could include some other cards. You know, there's so many different rock monsters too, because Adamancipator is such a wide open archetype that just cares about rock monsters in general, that there's all different kinds of techs and one-ofs that you can try out as well. And I just think it's really cool. Not just rock, but earth stuff too, you know, because the Block Dragon summons by banishing any earth monster, not just the rocks. So, and while the engines do take up more room in the extra deck, those do offer more powerful end boards. That is another pro of this style of deck, as opposed to, you know, the 40 card build, is the strength of your end board on average should be higher than the 40 card build. Now here we're going to be going first. I will get into the weaknesses now. One of the weaknesses of the 60 card build is that, you know, when it comes to going second, yeah, you have the engine to push through stuff, but we are also in a meta where even having 5 engine cards might not actually be enough if you end up going second. And I'm just going to spoil alert, both the games we're going to see from this build are going first, because I'll be honest, when I was playing on ladder, I did struggle when going second to push through, particularly like Snake Eye and White Force. You know, that kind of power level of end board, even with you know, all of your engine that you're opening, is still a bit tricky. Here I took a risk using the Quacky Mirror Guardian to make the Gallant Granite, but I figured it was worth it. My opponent hadn't fired off anything just yet, and also we have the Called By in hand, so I figured that's good enough. If you see your opponent going for a Gallant Granite and you're still holding your Ash Blossom, Veil, or Imperm, that's generally one of the best choke points. Just stop them from getting to Block Dragon, and Adamancipator will have a much more difficult time comboing. Although, to be fair, those going second games, we didn't have Block Dragon either of those, and we were still able to power through. You know, the Millennium engine, it kind of makes me wish I would have tried Millennium Adamancipator even before Block Dragon was announced to come back, because there's a lot of just really powerful stuff going on here. So this end board is, I don't know, we maybe could have done better for turn 1, but I really didn't have that many great extenders to add off with the block dragon here. That kind of makes me want to experiment more with various rock monsters, as opposed to maybe cutting one of my engines like Vernusilf or something. But, you know, I think Elf IP Baron is still good enough, especially when combined with the Called By and the Droll and Lockbird. Because what I can do here is I can make... This is the, like, end board that everyone who hates combo decks always dooms over. But it's actually kind of rare to pull off this exact board. But here we do actually have the Sprite Elf target protecting not only the Baron de Fleur, but also a 3-material Appaloosa. The horror! To be totally honest, there's actually a lot of hands that, like, you know, meta decks could have that could push through this still. It is strong, but it's not, you know, almighty. I mean, not a Baron, a Droplet, that's what I was looking for. A Droplet alone would just, like, you know, completely shut this whole board off. There's still plenty of outs, but anyway. They're going to go with the Fiend's Requiem. I opted to use the Called By and not the Appaloosa here because I thought this might be one of the best uses I get out of the Called By. Our opponent, by the way, is on a very interesting take on the Exodia Millennium deck, like the quote-unquote pure Millennium deck, right? With the Blackwing monster there. I have no idea why they bothered summoning the right arm here if they're just going to go into Typhon, but yeah, this Typhon's going to get negated by the Appaloosa. It'll still walk over it. I'm a little concerned about the face down card, maybe a little more so than I should be, but you know, my opponent's so low on resources that rather than just try to go for lethal through the back row, I'm actually going to use my battle phase to out the Typhon and then use the Baron effect to pop the face down, and now I have the Omni negate in case the last card in hand is a hand trap. I opted for a safe line as opposed to trying to push for an OTK here, and the main reason that I did that is because you know, my opponent is so low on resources at this point, especially after I add more to my end board, that I don't necessarily need to end the duel straight away. Like, I could just wait one more turn. They're in top deck mode. I'm going to have multiple negates for their one relevant top deck, if it even ends up being relevant. And, you know, I'm really not seeing too many things that could have that would be able to out all of this. Even finding a Quackimira Guardian off the... what is that, Excavator? No. I don't remember what the blue one is called. We're only playing one of that in both builds, by the way, because the blue guy, I really don't remember his name. The blue guy, the Adamancipator level 2, that special summons itself if you control another Adamancipator, isn't as good to open as Researcher and the green one that special summons itself when your opponent controls a monster. That's good going second, and Researcher, of course, is very good going first or second. But only being able to special summon itself while you control another Adamancipator monster means that we're mostly just using the blue guy when we search it off of Block Dragon. Alright, here's another game with the, what's it called, with the going second. Or not going second, with a 60-card deck here. Going first again. Here, I went for a really greedy option, leading with Analyzer. That's the green guy's name. It was really greedy to lead with that. I should have led with the Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer and just linked that off into the Scarecrow, right? Because then it would have played around, you know, hand traps in general better. Whereas Analyzer, as you saw, gets stops by one Veiler, one Emperor, one Ash Blossom, but of course I was so blindsided. I saw an Adamancipator monster and I was like, yep, let's go gambling. So our opponent's going to be on the, what is this deck? Shining Sarcophagus, that's what it's called. But rather than doing Shining Sarc stuff, they're kind of just going to go straight into Vert for Dragoon, which is a little kind of baffling to me. I don't know, I don't really know any deck, honestly, I would consider Dragoon to be super optimal. I guess... No, the Shining Sarc deck really doesn't care about Dark Magician, though, right? It has its own version of it, but doesn't mean it cares about Dark Magician cards specifically. Yeah, I don't know. I really can't... I mean, maybe with Primite... Oh, maybe with Primite it becomes a little more worth it to play the Dragoon targets. I didn't even think about that. Huh, I might have to experiment with that. Anyway. Going into our next turn here, of course, top decking the one of in the 60-card deck. I will not deny that I was incredibly lucky here. So what my goal now is that I'm going to use the rest of my hand to just push through any disruption my opponent might have. This Ash Blossom on the Soul Piercer is actually exactly what I wanted to happen, so that way it doesn't happen to Block Dragon. I can use Scarecrow to pitch the Xeno Guitar. This baits out the Dragoon. I'm thinking perfect. And I don't blame my opponent for using their disruptions here, because at this point I only have 2 cards left in hand, right? Last turn I went Analyzer, they negate it, and then I passed. So it's pretty obvious to them, it would be obvious to them that, my opponent probably doesn't have a whole lot going on here, especially with that Imperm face down. I'm sure, even if I were on the other side, I'd be thinking the same thing. This person only has 1 card left in hand. How bad could it possibly be? Surely they wouldn't top deck the one of Block Dragon in a 60-card deck, right? But to be honest, even if it had just been a level 4 extender, I could have gone into Gallant Granite and then searched Block Dragon. So there were actually more outs than it looked like, right? But yeah, now I can go for Gigante's Researcher, and then I never remember the blue guy's name. We'll see it here in a second when we summon him. Yep, there's Researcher. Researcher F to Excavate. We're finding a Guardian. That's awesome. We don't even need it, but sure, we'll definitely take it. Synchroing into the Raptite. Then using that effect to Excavate. Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about the Vernier Sylphs. I feel like they've kind of been underperforming. Seeker, that's the blue guy's name. Compared to the other engines, I feel like Vernier Sylphs are a little more situational. They just kind of been underperforming as opposed to the other ones here. Don't mind me adding, the Golem off the Gallant Granite here, just forgetting I was already at 2,000 life points. Like, yeah, whatever. I have it at this point anyway. The Dragoon does have target and destruction protection, but thankfully Adamancipator has a built-in non-targeting, non-destruction removal option, and that is going to be the Dragite, the Excavate to bounce effect. Even if you only excavate 1 rock monster and only bounce 1 card, the effect does not target. So we're going to be using that to out the Dragoon here. Actually, we're doing it right now. Yeah, one of the reasons I like playing Cardahan too is having a water monster for the Dragite. I don't remember if it's in our graveyard at this point. I don't think it is, but it doesn't matter. We don't need the Spell Trap Negate. We just need the bounce effect. The bounce effect is so good. Most people, when they look at Dragite, they think of the Spell Trap Negate because that's how it's used in, like, quote-unquote generic Synchro decks, like Sword Soul with, like, the Moye and, other Synchro decks. But here we have access to the bounce effect too, which, like I said, is, and as you saw, very, very good. Alright, so those are the games demonstrating each build. So between these 2 builds, I ask you now, which do you think is better? If I had to pick, I'm kind of leaning more towards the 40-card build, honestly, just because it's simpler. But I think that just means I need to explore some more engines within the 60-card build that I might, that was just going to take longer to refine in general, right? Overall. So thank you all for watching. Super appreciate you watching to the end. A great way of supporting the channel and your support in general overall, from views, comments, memberships on YouTube and Patreon. It all means the world to me. So thank you very much. Speaking of YouTube members and patrons, let's move on to our outro now so that we can give them a special thank you. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which, by the way, is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.